Travel Journal of Beaumont Sinclair, July 6th to July 10th, 1876. We finally escaped from the Crimson Hand and headed straight to Seto's Mill to inform Sheriff Merryweather's deputies of his unfortunate demise. Just as promised, we delivered Merryweather's badge to his deputies, and the whole town was struck by the tragedy, and an awful lot of people turned up at his grave marker to pay their respects.
As I went down in the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the starry crown? Good Lord, show me the way. Oh, sisters, let's go down, come on down. Oh, sisters, let's go down in the river to pray.
We had planned on finding somewhere for Sally Mason to stay, but unfortunately, there weren't many people in Seto's Mill who would have been able to take care of her, and so she insisted she would be safe with us. We decided we would try at the San Miguel mission. Perhaps the girl would feel more comfortable there. The next day, we set out for the San Miguel mission and began riding north. Along the way, we saw an old hag of a woman, white-haired, wrinkled face, and a mean look in her eye. She stood hunched over in the middle of a patch of marshland. She stared at us as we travelled by, her look seeming to curse the very ground we walked upon. We all felt a chill run through our souls, and our spirits dampen from her unpleasant stare. But soon we had passed, and she was behind us. We approached the San Miguel mission close to nightfall, and looking into the dark sky just before we arrived, we could see the stars were bright, and it was a good night to watch some shooting stars. There was nothing else to do, so we placed a few bets on who would see the most shooting stars. Of course, Lady Luck always smiles on me, and I won that bet quite handily. And with that, we passed through the gates of San Miguel. We inquired about leaving Sally Mason here. The girl, still stubborn, insisted she did not want to stay behind and wanted to travel with us. It seems she is quite determined to exact her revenge against the Crimson Hand cult. Well, she was in luck, because the missionaries weren't willing to take in such an impetuous young girl. They did, however, let us know that the Crimson Hand had been seen getting up to all sorts of mischief in the Sierra Magellan's mountain range. Apparently, they'd set up camp in an old mine up there, and at night people saw strange lights emanating from the opening to the mine. The mission's priest told us that a group of men from Conrad's claim had already been up there, and came down to San Miguel a few days earlier, talking about strange cracks in reality. And then the priest mentioned a familiar name, Dr. Hedgebrook, the man who had helped us find our way to Jargono to lift that awful curse. It seemed Hedgebrook had given these men information on how to seal off these cracks in reality, and they had come to the San Miguel mission seeking a blacksmith who could forge some magical runes they needed in order to do the job. The mission's blacksmith had crafted the runes, the priest had blessed them, and then the men had gone on their way. However, they had not been heard from since. I talked it over with Torinobu, and we decided the best thing to do was to go and investigate the Sierra Magellans ourselves. If it could lead us to Dr. Hedgebrook, and he knows about such things, perhaps he knows about the Shadow King too, and with any luck he can help us into this investigation of the whereabouts of Lucy Hancock. We set out the next morning, and it was a long trek up the mountains, but we're going to camp for the night, and tomorrow discover what these cracks in reality are. Beaumont and Torinobu arrive at the mines with Sally Mason and Swampy in tow. They carry with them the blacksmith's magical runes that they intend to use to seal off the cracks in reality. Well, let's get to it, I suppose, says Beaumont, leading the way into the mines. He steps through the opening and finds a room filled with splintered crates and fragments of broken barricades. It's clear there was a bitter struggle here, and whoever was guarding this storage vault didn't go down without a fight. Beaumont looks around the ransacked vault, and although he does not find much of use to him, he does come across a handful of dark stone shards, which he slips in his pocket. Sally Mason follows behind him, her youthful speed carrying her deeper into the vault, and her keen eyes find a small wad of money tucked away beneath some equipment. Torinobu and Swampy follow along, finding nothing of use in the ransacked vault. As the posse prepare to press forward, they are struck by visions of their cosmic insignificance. Staring into the gaping void, they are overcome with the emptiness of knowing that humanity is but a plaything for the cosmic whim and the elder gods of old. The realization tears at their sanity, and they each begin to feel madness creeping into their minds. Then, suddenly, as if summoned by their loosening grip on sanity, with a flash and a smile, a shiny demon appears at the crossroads up ahead. "Hello there, strangers. Lovely meeting you in a place like this. How about we strike a little deal? I can give any of you power beyond your imagining." Torinobu looks at the demonic creature in disgust. "I require nothing from a creature such as you. Begone, foul demon, back to the hell from whence you came." "Well, how about you, gambling man? I'm sure I can turn the dice and cards in your favor forevermore." "I don't need your bloody help with that. Get away from me, you horrible little urchin." The demonic creature sneers at the slight and moves towards Sally Mason. "How about you, young lady? Isn't there somebody you want revenge against? Isn't there something I can do for you?" Sally feels momentary temptation at the unholy demon's offer, but, seeing the stern resolve of Torinobu and Beaumont, she shakes her head and covers her eyes, stamping her feet, as the demon continues to try to tempt her. "Oh, none of you are any fun at all. Well, a curse upon all of you!" It hisses and then disappears in a flash of light. As the demon fades away, the trio feel drained of their strength as the unholy creature's curse weakens their resolve. Well, he was a horrible little blighter, wasn't he? "A creature of pure evil. We must press on, Beaumont-san, before reality begins to break down." It is only after the demon has disappeared that Beaumont notices the blacksmith's runes are glowing with an ethereal energy and are warming like pebbles in the baking sun. He looks up to see the cause of all this cosmic horror and sees overhead one of the fabled cracks in reality, spilling its void energies into reality. He looks away from the maddening sight and holds up the rune stones, which glow brighter and brighter and burn hotter and hotter, until Beaumont fears his hand will burst into flames. But then they suddenly become cool to the touch once more, and the crack overhead seals up, leaving only rock where once there was the ethereal spirals of void energy. "Well, that's one down. Let's get moving, shall we?" "Yes, there is no time to lose." Beaumont moves further into the ransacked vault, while Sally Mason races ahead into the crossroads. "Slow down, Sari-chan. It could be dangerous up ahead," Torinobu says, following after the orphan girl. Sally slows down and waits, but Swampy does not heed Torinobu's warning and races ahead, exploring one of the paths from the crossroad, and finds itself in a dark stone shaft. The wall here is broken away, revealing a massive dark stone geode. Rough-hewn natural crystals of the black rock line the walls of a deep pit descending into the darkness below. Dark whispers echo up from the pit. The crystals begin to softly glow as the whispers grow into a furious cacophony in the minds of Beaumont, Torinobu, and Sally. The three of them feel their sanity slipping away even further, and Beaumont and Sally even find themselves suffering physical side effects as they each vomit blood before regaining their senses. "Never a bloody dull moment in these places, is it?" Beaumont says. Swampy enters the room, blissfully ignorant of the horrific whispers tormenting his masters. He is merely happy to come across a patch of recently disturbed earth. Perhaps something is buried here, or someone. Swampy's canine instincts take over as he begins digging at the earth. "Be quiet, Swampy," yells Beaumont. "You're making enough noise to wake the bloody dead." But his warning comes too late, as the noise made by Swampy draws the attention of less savoury creatures. Suddenly, from the shadows of the mines, emerge a quartet of the blind, gibbering bone biters, somehow springing a blind ambush against the posse. And to make matters worse, one of the hulking night terrors emerges from a tunnel overhead somewhere and drops down right beside Sally Mason. Beaumont wastes no time fleeing from the bone biter near to him and joining up with Torinobu. He opens fire, doubling down on his shot and blowing apart one of the horrid little beasts. Torinobu sees young Sally in danger and sprints forward, unsheathing his blades. And dispatching another of the bone biters. Then, with a lightning slice, he cuts a gory wound into the side of the night terror, drawing its attention. The night terror swipes at Torinobu. Its immense, deadly claws clash with the cold steel of his sword as he successfully fends off its attacks. Then, the bone biters launch their attack. One of them's gnashing teeth tears a chunk out of Swampy's flesh, and the dog howls in pain, whilst the other approaches Beaumont, lured by the sound of his gunshots, and rakes a bloody gash in his chest with its swiping claws. Beaumont retaliates, opening fire with his shotgun. But in his panicked haste, he completely misses the blind monstrosity. Meanwhile, Torinobu continues a deadly dance of death with his swords. And completely eviscerates the night terror. Sally Mason backs up to get a better shot and opens fire on the bone biter attacking Swampy. The bullets rip into the creature and leave it dead, twitching on the ground. Then Swampy, sensing Beaumont is in danger, races back to help him and leaps at the bone biter. Sinking its teeth into the horrible little creature's putrid flesh. The blind, angry creature retaliates, lashing out at Swampy and leaving a cut down the faithful hound's side. "You leave my bloody dog alone," Beaumont says, and opens fire. This time, blasting the horrible little creature to pieces. They all take a moment to catch their breath, while Beaumont wraps Swampy's wounds with a bandage. "There you go, boy. Good as new," he says. "I suggest we tread with more caution," says Torinobu. "Yes, I agree," says Beaumont, just as the flesh of one of the dead bone biters bursts apart and a horrible, writhing parasite jumps out of its mangled remains. Its sharp teeth and claws latch onto Beaumont's shoulder. "Ah, get off me, you little bugger," he says, and tries to wrench the parasite free. But as he does, it sinks its teeth and claws in deeper. It quickly becomes apparent as they try to remove the parasite that any effort to do so will result in the evil little monster killing its host, which just happens to be Beaumont. "We best just leave it for now. Perhaps one of the doctors can remove it. The damn thing's giving me a frightful headache, but I have to admit, I feel strangely more quick-witted," says Beaumont, a little confused by the seeming benefits of the parasite. From one of the open passageways, suddenly, a trio of men emerge. "What's all that damn racket you're making?" says a man who appears to be their leader.
"We are here to seal the cracks in reality,"
says Torinobu, turning towards the three men. "Ah, so someone sent you out here too. That's what we've been trying to do. Got some runes from a blacksmith that seem to do the trick just fine. But we're still looking for the last of these cracks." "Then perhaps we should join forces and finish this job together." "Yep, I reckon you got a plan there, mister. Kane Winters is the name, and I'm the best gunslinger in all the county. And these two are my good friends, John Jackson and Steve Earle. Pleasure to meet you all," says Beaumont, stepping forward. "I'm Beaumont Sinclair, and this fine chap is Torinobu Katsuhiro, and this young lady is our ward, Sally Mason." "I ain't nobody's ward. I'm out here to find the Crimson Hand gang and put an end to their evil cult." "Well, good luck with that, little missy. Those damn bastards are all over the county," says Kane Winters, and then turns pale as he sees the parasite attached to Beaumont's shoulder. "You all right there, mister? You don't look so good with that damn thing on your shoulder." "It'll be fine. We'll deal with it later. It doesn't hurt so much." "All right, if you say so. Well, I suggest we get moving." As if on cue, the screams of the damned echo through the lines and send a shudder down the spines of the expanding posse. Beaumont heads slowly towards one of the passages, intending to explore deeper into the mines, while Torinobu makes his way into the dark stone shaft. Sally Mason takes the lead, moving ahead of Beaumont and heading through the passageway to discover a campsite. "That's where we've been holed up," says Kane Winters, pointing towards the sleeping bags and equipment around the guttering campfire. "Feel free to grab anything of use," he says. A small fire burns at the centre of the room, with bedrolls and crates of equipment surrounding it. "Watch out for the booby trap," says Kane Winters, just as Sally Mason is about to trip a wire. She sees it at the last moment and steps over the wire, avoiding a deadly dynamite explosion. Swampy chases after Torinobu and runs deeper into the mines past the dark stone shaft and enters a mining room. Meanwhile, Kane Winters and one of his men join up with Sally and Beaumont. "Mr. Earle, you go with Mr. Katsuhiro," says Kane Winters, and Steve Earle heads towards Torinobu. As he joins up with the samurai, they hear a deadly growl from deep within the mining room, and from the darkness emerge two hulking night terrors. Beaumont prepares himself to go and aid the samurai, but as he turns back, he suddenly hears the jingling of spurs, and a cold shiver runs down his spine as a familiar voice echoes through the darkness. "Well, well, if it isn't Mr. Sinclair," says the raspy, undead voice of Henry Macmillan. The man he killed so long ago in Wilshin's lodge stands before him as a grisly, spectral ghoul. "Can't you bloody stay dead?" says Beaumont. "How can I die when a cheating, no-good rat bastard like you still walks the earth? No, Beaumont, you haven't seen the last of me, not by a long shot. Now prepare yourself for another duel." "It'll end the same as the bloody last one, you fool," says Beaumont. But the empty stare of the gunslinger freezes him with fear as the cold grip of death's embrace calls to Beaumont. Henry Macmillan's gun barks a single shot, and the bullet punches into Beaumont's arm, leaving him reeling in pain. "You no-good braggart, that was a cheap shot," says Beaumont, and returns fire. His bullets pass right through Henry Macmillan as if he were made of mist, and then the undead gunslinger fades away in a supernatural fog with an eerie laugh echoing through the caverns. "You okay, mister?" says Kane Winters. Beaumont shakes his head, seemingly returning to reality. Yes, I'm fine. Did you see any of that?" Kane Winters looks at him puzzled. "Not rightly sure what you're talking about, mister. I didn't see anything. Hey, what did you do to your arm?" Beaumont looks down to see his bleeding arm, evidence of the duel. But he is unsure whether this was a real duel or some strange, dark stone magic that took place within his mind. He snaps himself out of it, There is no time to worry about such things now. Back in the mining room, Torinobu runs towards the hulking night terrors, raising his sword, ready to do battle. He grits his teeth and breaks into a sprint, covering more ground than he expected, and unleashes a series of deadly slices on the night terrors. One of them crashes the ground in pieces, while the other, severely wounded, howls in anger and turns on the samurai, lashing out with its great claws. It catches Torinobu with a deadly swipe that tears open his flesh and spatters crimson blood across the ground. Meanwhile, Beaumont prepares to go and help Torinobu. "Mr. Winters, Mr. Jackson, you stay here with Sally. Keep her safe, will you?" he says. "No harm being done to a young lady while I'm around," says Kane Winters, and he and John Jackson remain with Sally at the campsite. Steve Earle steps into the mining room, raising his revolver and taking a shot at the night terror, attacking Torinobu, but the shot goes wide and misses. Then Swampy charges forward to defend his master against the giant brute attacking him. Swampy's gnashing teeth, however, do little more than frustrate the beast, and it roars in anger as it prepares to attack again. Meanwhile, Beaumont continues to make his way back through the tunnels towards Torinobu. Torinobu, however, proves he does not need any help as he unleashes the full fury of his swords against this night terror. And slices it into pieces. Then he presses on deeper into the mines and finds himself at a track stop. A large and forebodingly dark hole sits in the far wall of the room, beckoning Torinobu to shine the lantern light inside. As he gets closer to the hole, something tries to pull him in. Emerging from the darkness is a giant savage tentacle that wraps itself around him. But Torinobu's strength wins the day, and he manages to rip himself free of the writhing appendage, which quickly withdraws back into its hole. Meanwhile, Sally Mason continues to explore past the campsite and finds herself in a ritual chamber. On one end of the room, a large metal gate is inset into the wall, with a heavy beam and chain barring the door from opening. Vicious-looking gouges and bite marks are scratched into the metal bars, and the floor behind the gate is shredded and stained with blood. In the shadows beyond, she can hear a low voice whispering, "Help! Help!" She tries to free the poor prisoner, but unfortunately, the bars on the gate prove too heavy for her, and try as she might, she cannot get the gate open, until eventually the pleading for help stops. But within the ritual chamber, she has found the last crack in reality that needs to be sealed. Unfortunately, through this crack emerge two gigantic, hulking creatures, standing almost twice the height of a man and 4 times the bulk. These alien interlopers wear heavy brass suits, similar to those worn by deep-sea divers. Set into their helmets are glowing lights that pulsate in the darkness. The strange beings emerge from the cracks in reality, not just beside Sally Mason, but also emerging near Torinobu, in the track stop. Their minds burn as they race through the events that led them to this fate, this one doom, and the untold horrors that await. Beaumont, Torinobu and Sally all feel the insanity slowly creeping in as this place instills an unholy madness within them. They all steel themselves and prepare for the fight ahead with these strange harvesters from the void. Despite their bulk, they are surprisingly quick, and one of the harvesters swings a great armoured fist at Torinobu, but the samurai manages to sidestep its strike. In the ritual chamber, Kane Winters is not so lucky, as he is caught by a great brass fist that hits him so hard in the chest he fears his heart will explode. Kane Winters collapses to the ground, gasping for air. Torinobu, meanwhile, unleashes a deadly counterattack on the harvester that attacked him. The dark stone energy in his blades crackles with fury as it cuts clean through the harvester's brass armour and whatever flesh lies beneath it. The creature inside howls in pain and collapses dead, its armour rent open by a myriad of slashes. Sally Mason attacks the distracted harvester as it looms over Kane Winters. And manages to punch through, stabbing the creature in its soft flesh. It roars in anger, but before it can turn on her, Kane Winters and dives out, unloading clinking harmlessly off the heavy brass armour. But one of Kane's shots finds its mark and punches straight through the armoured visor. The harvester remains on its feet, standing shakily, wobbling for a few seconds, then collapsing with a great crash into the ground. With all of their assailants dead, Beaumont uses the blacksmith's runes to seal the final cracks in reality, stemming the tides of void energy from spilling into Brimstone County. Right, well, now that that's done, I suggest we all get the bloody hell out of here and have a good drink at the saloon. Sounds like a good plan to me, mister, says Kane Winters. Yes, let us get out of this place. A job well done, my friends, says Torinobu. And then, led by Swampy, happily wagging his tail as he leaves the mines, the 6-strong posse follow the little hound and prepare to return to town for some well-earned rest.